you should have put your foot down and walked away from Tyra when she started being a brat. Tyra said, you guys were begging us for more. And I'm thinking, lady, I didn't ask you for nothing. You put this in my face. Don't try to come at me and say that I wanted this. I didn't tell you to go up there and tell that girl she was ashy. Hell no. But isn't that ironic though that like we're reflecting on a reality TV show where these girls were exploited and now you're talking about keeping stuff off the camera? Hello, friend.
Hi, friend.
It's so good to get to chat with you today.
I know. I was actually really excited for this all day. I really wanted some pho. And so all week I was saying, I'm going to have some pho Friday. And so I got my pho and it was amazing. And then I get to see my friend. So it's Friend Friday. So today's a good one, girl.
Oh my goodness. Well, good pho is very hard to argue with, my friend. I'm glad you got some quality pho.
Yeah.
So that means that you're all ready to have this big old discussion about the fallout from the America's Next Top Model documentary.
Yes, I am.
Girl, I ran to Netflix and got me an account so I could watch that.
I know, and I'm really excited because we've not like discussed this much at all. So I'm really excited to do this now. And yeah, let's dive in.
All right, sounds good. So basically a new documentary all about America's Next Top Model premiered on Netflix this past week, and it got a hell of a reception. My goodness. It was everything on my timeline was either about Prince Andrew or about this. And so I'm really glad that I was able to dial up a Netflix account so I could watch this and really kind of take in the content of the documentary and do some reflecting. I will say I was not somebody who watched a lot of Top Model back in the day when it was airing. I think that for me, I felt like, well, I'm sort of trying to be in this world. And so I don't want to watch a reality TV show about it. And so having grown up in Southern California and starting to go on model go-sees and doing photo shoots and building a portfolio and stuff around the time that Top Model started, I think I just kind of blocked it out. I did watch one cycle. I think it was like in reruns. It was the one that had Kenya Hill on it. She's one of the women from the documentary. And I enjoyed watching her, but that was the closest that I really got to viewership of Top Model. How about you?
So yeah, this is why I'm kind of excited for this. I was in high school. I was in 9th grade when Top Model first aired. And so I ate it right up. I ate up all of it. I was one of those like, yes, this is amazing. In fact, our homegirl, our mutual friend, she and I used to like, when I was living in California, we'd be like, oh my gosh, it's America's Next Top Model Day. Don't even talk
to me.
Oh my gosh. And that was like, yeah, we used to talk about the episodes and all that stuff. So really looking back at it with that, more adult lens, was really, really interesting. And I was one of those ones who actually during 2020, when COVID hit, I was looking for stuff to binge like all of us. Mm-hmm. And my niece and I, she was in, I think 7th grade or 6th grade. And, I hadn't watched that show since I watched it through every cycle that came out. I would watch it as it aired, but I never went back and rewatched. And so then coming back, 15, almost 20 years later, I remember going into it with this, like, first of all, when I was watching it when I was younger, it was like the idea that, okay, yeah, if you want something bad enough, you just got to hustle for it. You just got to, like, I felt like, oh, they were teaching me, like, yeah, you got to be a badass hard worker. And I remember telling my niece, like, oh, we're going to watch this show. And thinking that, like, oh, it's going to teach her some things that I remember kind of taking away from it. And, like, that first episode, I'm like, I'm not showing her this. Like, let's watch something else, girl. I'm just watching it with this completely different lens. we both had very different experiences with Top Model.
Yes. I would say that that's probably what I was most struck by in watching the documentary and seeing them replay clips from like cycle one, cycle two, which again, I didn't watch when it aired. I'm sure that I had seen some of the clips somewhere because, I watched things like Best Week Ever on VH1. I watched like all those 90s and early 2000s recap type shows. So I'm sure I've probably seen lots of clips of Top Model, but I don't exactly know how to place them. But when I was watching, I thought, oh my gosh, so Tyra fully told a Black woman that she was ashy. She allowed hairstylists to just buzz bald spots into this woman's head and make her feel so othered and so like that was what really struck me, and I thought, man, we used to accept a lot of from reality television.
And I will say that's Ebony that you're talking about with the hair, and they, the way they talk about with her, she did get the aggressive Black woman edit. Their editing worked like a charm. I mean, I was much younger then, had, grown up in this small town. So I looked at things a little differently, but the editing, it absolutely worked, where I was like, dang, this woman's kind of a bitch, like she's being so mean to everyone. And now rewatching it and hearing her in the documentary, and also learning as much as I have over time, and having amazing, beautiful Black friends like you to help me understand things on a from a better, different lens. I'm watching that and I'm like, how dare Tyra?
So I want to make it clear that I think both of us are very aware of how television works. And, if the network's telling you got to do something, like that's pretty much it. They run everything. So I get that, but like, I don't know that I could ever pass that along. Even back in 2003, I don't know if I could ever walk up to another Black girl and tell her, hey, they said you're ashy. Like, what? Like, I don't know. To hear Ebony say in the documentary, I thought that I would be protected, and I wasn't. And here I am on this show where I want people to be proud of me, but I'm being broken down constantly.
Yeah, watching it back, not only do I think, how dare Tyra, I mean, you can't help but feel a little bit of shame for yourself, being like, damn, I was soaking it up. And, so this is where, when people say, because we hear a lot of this, oh, it was a product of the time. That's just the way it was back then. And, there's a teeny bit of truth to that statement, that it was the way the times were. However, when you use that as an excuse and don't take accountability, that to me is an issue. And it seems like there was a lot of producers and a lot of that were doing that, even like, I feel like the contestant Whitney, the one she was the plus size model that won, which, good Lord, looking back, she was a size 10.
I know. I was looking at her and I'm like, this was what we called plus size back then. Oh my God. Yeah, that was very jarring to see that.
Yeah. And even she is, in the end saying, oh, well, you have to understand it really was just the way it was. It's the product of the time. Yeah, that is the way things are. However, there's a lot of shit that was product of the times that was not okay. And so I think the whole point of this documentary is not to just chalk it up to, oh, well, that's just the way it was. It's to allow people to see that from a more responsible lens, and to say, well, let's learn and let's do better. Yeah, I feel ashamed of, partaking in this. And now I know better, and I'm going to do better to make sure the next generation doesn't go through all this bullshit.
Which was, I thought, the premise for why Tyra wanted to do Top Model in the first place. I heard her say, and this was in previous clips, so clips from the past, I heard her saying in the documentary, like, I really want to show people the inside look of what the industry is like. And I really want to, break barriers and and change the game and stuff. I heard her saying these things. I thought that Tyra wanted to start the show because she wanted to break barriers and she wanted to make a difference in the industry. And she also wanted to show an insider look of what these women go through in order to transform themselves to become runway models, print models. So being that that was something that she said she wanted to do, I was just really taken aback that she would choose to pass on the microaggression. By the way, Ebony's skin is gorgeous.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
Flawless. And I love that she showed up with just a ton of hair. It was like, bam.
Yes.
That was so good. I thought, oh, girl, you were bald before, and now here you are, just locks upon locks upon locks. I thought that was just gorgeous, and I loved it. Another one that really got to me was the girl with the tooth gap. I think her name was Danielle.
Danielle, yeah, and yeah.
Why did they do that to that girl's teeth?
And you know what? She was one of the only ones that really took a stand for herself and said no. She said no. And they pushed her to a point where it was not an option anymore.
Yeah, Tyra really gave her the ultimatum of like, do you want to go home or are you going to get your gap fixed? And I thought, wow, here's this girl telling you she loves herself the way that she is, and y'all are not okay with that.
Which is what the show is supposed to be about, is supposed to be about your, everybody coming in different shapes and sizes, or at least what Tyra said she set out to do.
Yes, that's what she said.
I remember watching that show, and I remember that was actually one of the ones I do remember watching and thinking, well, good for her. Like, I liked her gap. She looked good with a gap. It was her signature thing, and she said that from the get-go. But regardless of what we think about the damn gap, she loved it. It was what she wanted to do. And so that should have been full stop.
I paid the most attention to whatever cycle that was that Kenya was on. I don't know which number, but I remember it was her, and then I think a girl named Naima came out of there, the one with the short hair. She's the one that won, right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
And I remembered really liking both of those women at the time. I thought that they were both just very uniquely beautiful, and that I wanted to see great things for them.
For Kenya, I know the eating thing was such an issue for her. I can't even imagine where, you're going all through high school, all through those formative years, being told you're way too thin, you're stick thin, and then you get into this world and they're calling her a fat cow, and they're calling her all these terrible names, and
saying that she has the body of a man, even just with boobs.
Yeah. And again, she, just like all of those women, was just beautiful. And then her situation she was also the one that, with the dancing, and she was doing the scene where the guy was touching her.
And they made her into such a bad guy for that. For
setting a boundary and saying she was uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was very disappointed in Tyra's commentary around that too, because why can't you see what's happening here? Why can't you say, oh, that's not cool, that we will never put you in a situation like that ever again? Why would that be so hard to say when this girl is very clearly speaking up about how this guy, and what kills it is that the image shows him touching her. So I mean, the evidence, we got the evidence.
As she says, the receipts are there. The receipts are right there.
Kenya girl, we see it very clearly. I don't know why they couldn't see it. They gaslit the fuck out of you, and that's not cool. I am very interested in hearing your thoughts about how you first watched it and how you reflect on it now when it comes to Shandy. Because this is one that I've seen lots of opinions, lots of stuff flying around, and I have my own thoughts, but I'm very interested in hearing from you first because you were somebody who was watching the show at the time. So please, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I will say, knowing what I know now and knowing what I understand about life and the world more now than I did in ninth grade when I was watching. That was another one of those where I, just like with Ebony, where I look back and it's like I feel this little bit of shame with Shandy. I was one of those that was like, dang, she like cheated on her man. And that is one of those ones that I really had to look back and just be, I just felt shame forever feeling that. Because, and this is where it is like, oh, you know, that was the times, that was society.
That was reality television.
And you know, this is at a time where we were in 2000, so it was coming off of not too many years after everything where, you know, we watched Clinton and Lewinsky happen, and Lewinsky got blamed for all of it. And this is what society does. And I was absolutely part of that. And that is, you know, something that I'm like, oh my gosh, now watching it. First of all, I do remember thinking though, like, I guess I didn't even really think so much about production and all that, but it was more of like, dang, why didn't her homegirls kind of help her out though? Like, why didn't the other girls in the house kind of pull her aside and be like, hey girl, you know, you real drunk right now. Like, you know, you really want to do this? You really want to
slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of looked at it like that. Not that it's anyone's responsibility to tell you, you know, but at the same time, it was like, I do remember feeling that way. I like, well, you know, dang, her girls could have been like, you know, hey, y'all need to tell the boys to go home. But at the end of the day, I did still feel like, well, she made her choice. She did that. Now, you know, rewatching it, I mean, again, I'm just ashamed of that opinion. I also understand I was a 17-year-old with an underdeveloped brain, but I'm glad that I've learned and understand things on a different level now, because now, oh my gosh, my heart just goes out to her. And I never had, it was never this like mindset of like, I mean, I remember feeling badly when she made that phone call. I felt horrible for her. I felt horrible.
Watching what they included in the documentary about that whole situation just made me so uncomfortable and just heartbroken for the very clear pain that this girl was in when she came to the realization of what had happened and all of that. And, you know, I do want to also point out that many of the contestants who spoke, they were still wearing their pain. And it felt like Shandy was wearing hers the most.
Yes. 100%.
And this is something that happened 22 years ago, and she is still harboring that. And like, that's the part that I feel for too, is that you never got made whole. You just had to figure out a way forward from this. And, you know, they mentioned that that she and the boyfriend tried to work it out, but it didn't work out. And I it's so sad all around. It's really, really sad for everybody involved, including, now this is where I'm gonna make my segue, including the male model. Because Shandy says that she had 2 bottles of wine to herself that she remembers. How much did he have? How much did he have? I mean, what I saw looked like 2 people who were inebriated.
Yeah.
And in that case, then I do look at production, because I'm like, wait, hold on. This girl is in a foreign country, blasted out of her mind right now, and you're not going to say a damn thing, along with the fact that this girl's relationship is the basis for her being here.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna, hey Shandy, maybe you don't want nothing. I mean, nothing at all. Right. And what I've been pointing to when I have these, I've had 2 discussions about this with randos on the internet who were just commenting. And what I said is that I remember in 1999 when The Real World Hawaii was airing on MTV, and Ruthie Al-Katie got inebriated, blackout drunk at the bar. And she grabbed the keys to the car and she started to drive. Production broke the fuck out of that 4th wall to stop her. I don't see the situations as very different. I see both of those
Yeah.
young people as being very at risk. They were way too drunk. Who got them the alcohol? And the fact that they came up to her later and said, you know, we're so sorry we had to film that. Fuck out of here. No, you should have, no, you should have been sorry to film the other shit.
I 100% agree. And the thing is that Shandy was about 90 pounds soaking. She has a very low tolerance. She's also very young and new to drinking, probably. She's this girl from this tiny town, really, you know, just rural area. People can argue all day long that, well, first of all, like, you know, you had a contract, you signed it. Okay, who in their right mind actually has ever read, when you go to sign up for a cell phone or whatever, and they give you that 50-page contract, you show me someone other than a lawyer who was hired to read through every single word verbatim.
Yeah.
And what 19 or 20-year-old girl is doing that when she's excited about becoming a model?
Yes, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I was just going to say, based off of what other reality television show contestants have said, you basically sign your life away when you sign those contracts for making the band, for the Real World, Road Rules Challenge, and all those shows. For America's Next Top Model, there was another one that I had seen. I think some of the Survivor people too were like, yeah, we signed away any rights to anything. Like, and at that point, you know, rewind it back 20 years, at that point, we still saw television as the way to make it big.
Mm-hmm.
So hardly anybody really wanted to read through that big old contract and say, oh, I'm not going to sign, because they wanted their chance. These were people with dreams.
Right.
And I'm going to hold the rest of that comment for later when we get to production, because I got thoughts on that too. But go ahead.
Shandy was also someone who said that, you know, she left right when she was 18. She did not have parental guidance. You know, we like to, as a society as a whole, treat young people coming right out of high school, 18 years old. We have this thing where it's like, protect the kids. And then the second they're 18, it's like, no, you're an adult. Go fucking figure it out.
With what experience? Like, what do they have to go on? It's so stupid.
and for anybody out there who does not know, brains are underdeveloped. They're not fully developed until they're 26. So while, yes, you are a legal adult at 18, just because the government says you can go shoot a gun in a war or, you know, buy a lottery ticket, yes. It does not mean that you have the wherewithal to handle these very real life situations. And Shandy was one of those people who, she truly was just, you know, very little big world life experience. Mm-hmm. So you put that all together, and, you know, anybody trying to argue, oh, she signed a contract and she was an adult, but there were adultier adults in the room.
Sure. Yes.
So, like, when we look at it as a whole, there's these people with real world experience. They know what the hell is happening. They're sober. They're on the clock. And they're watching this play out and say, this is a good story. And yeah, so I can see why Shandy is still, you know, broken, because that is something that would, I mean, she was also in her first relationship. She was in love, and
I know that's so sad.
Yeah.
That's so sad to think of what could have been, and just,
so
I feel for her.
Yeah, really goes out to Shandy and all of these women. And the last one I want to talk about, unless there's any more that you'd like to discuss too, but one of the ones that I really wanted to talk about is Tiffany.
Thank you for bringing up Tiffany, because yes, I would like to discuss Tiffany. And so you watched the episode as it aired. We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Okay, so please, let's hear your thoughts about Tiffany, because I got that clip. I mean, they clipped that immediately after that episode aired, and I saw that in a bunch of places, and I thought, God, look at Tyra trying to get her moment or whatever. Like, I really just saw it as like, you know, she's being extra right now, and I'm not really sure why, but okay. Although, In looking at some content that people have made, kind of compiling other clips of America's Next Top Model, Tyra loves to be extra.
All right. Oh my God. What's her poll? Check her poll. Oh, I'm all right. Today you guys are gonna learn about acting! We're learn about acting!
Oh, Danielle, you went to the dentist, but you refused to have your gap closed. Do you really think you can have a CoverGirl contract with the gap in your mouth?
Yeah, why not?
This is all people see. It's Easy Reads Beautiful CoverGirl. It's not marketable.
Yeah, just a little bit is okay, but I don't want to completely close it.
Well, I guess she just left the gap wide open for another girl, baby.
I agree.
I can't. You said
So I, again, watched everything as it was airing. I remember the season where she got kicked off. And, I remember thinking, well, I mean, that makes sense. She did get in a fight at a bar. She threw a drink on someone.
Mm-hmm.
They are very clear on all those shows that any physical violence and you're out. Makes sense. So when I saw her come back and, they had this story of, oh, we got her help. We got her anger management. We, helped her out. And I mean, I loved her story. I loved hearing her story about her grandmother. She went without lights for a while to pay for a swimsuit for Tiffany to go on America's Next Top Model. It was they truly made it this rags to riches story. And so, when Tyra said that, I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. She wasn't wrong as far as we were all rooting for you. I know I really was in that moment that I was watching that, and I was like, I was all in, and
Yeah.
and again, the way they edit it, they really, and Tiffany has since come out and said this, that they edited it to make it look like she was a yelling mama who cared, that was she even says herself, when my mom yells at me like this, it's because she loves me. And so I remember feeling like, dang, that's a bummer that it happened that way. And she didn't believe in herself with, the prompt. That was the thing. That's right. It was the cover girl.
Yeah, reading the names. Yeah.
And I was just sad. I was really rooting for her to win. And now, rewatching all of that, first of all, it's very clear that, and again, I know we'll go into more in production, but it's very clear that they didn't give a shit about saving her and all that. They saw, we could make this look like, we helped this girl. We changed her life, They saw a story that they could sell. That's why she was brought back. And I think Tiffany started to kind of pick up on that too.
A few of the contestants did say that. Kenya said it in her commentary. I believe Danielle also said it. And I think Ebony even said it too, that at some point they figured out that, oh shit, that this is on purpose. They're doing this to me on purpose to make.
Like after you have so many times where you're saying, well, that's kind of weird. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I mean, there's only so many coincidences that are going to take place until it's like, okay, there's a reason behind this.
Yes.
And I think Tiffany kind of started to see that a bit.
And so that's something that I can attest to, is that as a Black woman, especially if you are going to navigate this world and protect yourself, then that means that you also have to be able to read the signs and know when people are playing in your face and get up and leave. And so I think that what happened with Tiffany was that she just reached a point where she was like, okay, I see what the game is. And, I've learned enough. I've made enough connections that, I'm pretty much okay with leaving this and never coming back. Because there was also another girl that they showed, I don't remember what her name was because she didn't stay, but she came in and was like, I don't think I want to do this. And then she turned around and walked out. And it's like, oh my God, I wonder where she is today. Like, I wonder how she's doing right now because she dodged a bullet. I was kind of sad to not see her in the documentary. I would have loved to have heard her commentary, but I get that she doesn't want to be involved with it. And, she's left that behind her and that's her right to do that. I did not know that Tiffany had been a contestant before and that she had been brought back. So that was something that I learned in the documentary. I had just seen this clip of Tyra yelling at this girl. And so after learning that, I thought, oh, okay, so she had 2 chances on America's Next Top Model. Okay, so then I was thinking like, all right, so Tyra feels like this girl owes her. Tyra feels like, I brought you back and you're not taking this seriously at first. But then I started paying attention to the commentary of the other contestants, people like Kenya, Ebony, Danielle, others that I've mentioned. And I thought, well, wait, hold on. Why would Tiffany be exempt from any of that? Why would Tiffany be exempt from, these are microaggressions. I see the play. I'm not being treated or taken seriously when I voice my concerns or complaints about something. And she probably figured, I'm just going to leave and have it be a non-incident. But Tyra had to make it an incident. And that was the part that I was like, ooh, you really. And then they said that they had to bring lawyers.
That, I will say, I do remember when I was watching it and hearing Tiffany, when she was saying that part about like, look, I do care. Looks can be deceiving. I do care, but I've been through stuff. I've got pain. That was, that was her really like, look, I've been through some stuff. I am carrying pain with me. I am trying to rise above. I'm trying to do this, but this is not easy. And yeah, I really felt for her. I did. As she's going to pack up and she was saying, I'm not going to ever let someone humiliate me like that again or something along those lines. Like she humiliated me. Yes. And I remember back then watching it and thinking like, well, yeah, she got loud and stuff, but like it really seemed like she cared, she really cared about you. But I just still felt really bad for her in the way it fell out. Now watching this and hearing them say in that documentary that, and she's come out in interviews and said that the way they edited that was to make her look like this, fiery, caring mama. But apparently, she had said something along the lines of, take your ass back home and go sleep on a train with your baby or something like that.
I don't like.
Yeah. Apparently it got, and she said stuff like that. So when Tiffany says that Tyra humiliated her, it went so deep. And they really did edit it to make Tyra look like this caring mom. But that's why they showed up with a bunch of lawyers. So that's why Tiffany, in her post interviews, has kind of stood by, or has always stood by her. Nah, she doesn't care about me. You can sit there and say that it was a caring mama. You can say that it was, oh, this is, her just really rooting for me. You don't humiliate the hell out of people that you love like that. You don't do that.
And like, you don't do it to like, when I watch that clip, this is my initial reaction and my reaction now. It really just feels like Tyra wanted to make her cry. She wanted her to cry. She just wanted her to cry and feel awful so that she could have that moment, because this is really about ratings for these people. This is about, a storyline. What's going to get people watching us? And, it's okay. So before we transition, I just want to mention one more contestant, because when you talked about Tiffany and her story, it made me think of this person, someone who I had never been aware of before I watched the documentary. And I don't even remember her name now, but she has a mom who became paralyzed from gun violence, and they made that girl take a photo where she had been a gunshot victim. And I thought, oh, hell no.
Yes, I am blanking on her name too.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. No disrespect meant, but what? And she even said in her confessional, I knew they wanted to get an emotional breakdown out of me. They wanted to see me be emotional. And like, I just kudos to her for not doing it. But oh my God, can you imagine? Can you
No,
imagine?
no. It actually, there was another one. This was not in the documentary, and the contestant did not participate in the documentary, and I cannot remember her name, but I think it was season 8 or 9. I can't remember. She had just lost her best friend. Her best friend had just died, and they made her do a photo shoot in a grave 6 feet in the ground. They dug a 6-foot hole and made her get into it and do a photo shoot in it. Her friend had just died weeks earlier. Yeah.
You know what? I thank you so much for that, because I think that this is a really nice segue into talking about production. So Tyra was not in charge of this documentary at all. It doesn't look like any of the original people like Ken Mock or the Jays or any of them were responsible for the documentary. And it kind of seemed like Tyra was basically just there to be like, yeah, and her commentary about it. Like, she made no apologies. Like, just girl showed up dressed as Carmen Sandiego and was like, what, and what? And what?
Someone said, Tyra out here dressed like the damn detective when she's the prime suspect.
Okay, so you know, to hear Tyra speak about it, she had this idea. She wanted to start a show. She took it to Ken Mock. Ken Mock said, okay, yeah, let's do it. That's genius. At first, he didn't take her seriously, but then he did. Then they pitched it to a bunch of networks and a bunch of people said no. And then UPN finally said yes. And it kind of seemed like they were just desperate to hang on to whatever they could, which is why they just kept pushing the envelope with this show, putting girls in meat suits and shit. So, I mean, I don't know where you want to dig in. I don't know if we just want to go in on Tyra and then, you know, switch over to the Jays and whoever else, Nigel Barker, you know, because I got smoke for all of them. So,
yeah. You know, I kind of want to start with the Jays because I'm so curious what your thoughts are there, because I feel like they're kind of coming out smelling like roses, and I feel like they definitely have a little bit more accountability in it than they want to take credit for.
Yeah, I would have to agree there. I don't believe that they hold as much responsibility as like Tyra and Ken do. But
Yeah.
I do feel, okay, so first of all, I just want to say that even without being a fan of Top Model, I've always loved the Jays. I think the Jays are
I do
just
too,
fabulous.
and I'm not trying to shit on the Jays.
No. We're not slandering the Jays. That's not what this is about.
Love them, especially Mr. J had my heart from day one.
Yes, that man, and he still looks really good. I gotta say, homeboy still looks amazing. I was very impressed. So the Jays, they hold responsibility for their participation in the antics. I mean, they obviously had a vested interest in this and making sure that the show kept going because that was their employer. Now,
Right.
Mr. J identified that, you know what, I don't think I want to keep doing this. And so he tried to leave. And that part is unfortunate because some people would say that, well, professionally, he should have just made it work for as long as he could have. What he did was the right thing. But I'm sort of the mindset that, like, no, I think you should have put your foot down and walked away from Tyra when she started being a brat.
I think so too, because I think that there is something to the idea of if something is truly not serving you, and if you are, you know, if it's eating at your soul that much, you know, you got to do something about it. You got to, you know, and so props to him for trying to go. And honestly, I can't even imagine like, I do watching the documentary, I really tried to put myself in that situation of like Mr. J. I can't even imagine how hard it was. The relationship with Tyra, where you're like besties and you're working together, and she does have that, you know, power over you, and it's got to be so mixed up.
Definitely. But I feel like there's friendship and the integrity that you bring to friendship, and then there's business and the integrity that you bring to business. And I feel like Tyra was doing this weird, like, she was picking and choosing the parts of the friendship she wanted to keep and then holding it all up and saying, well, this is business, you have to stay committed to this because it's business. And you know, like, that's not, no. And so I really would have liked it if Mr. J could have stuck to his convictions more strongly, because in the end, he just ended up getting canned anyway, right?
He did. And so, yeah, I agree. I think I wish I had seen more of a backbone in standing up and walking. And I
then
do understand why that was hard, but it would have been, I think, nice to see for him and for just taking a stand for others.
Yeah. Because, I mean, he could clearly see that there was a problem and he felt it in his soul. So, you know, why not stick with that?
Tried to go, and then she turned it into this, like, oh, we're not friends anymore and I'm going to be ignoring you on set and all this stuff until the cameras are on. Like, that for me would have been...
Yeah, that would have been a wrap at that point. Like, you just gonna talk to me when the camera's on and act like we're close, and no, I can't do that. Back and forth. Oh, I smile in your face when the cameras are on, but I completely ignore your presence any other time. Like, that is subhuman to act that way. Like, that is, I've been saying what a lot during this episode. It is. It's very strange. And I would have noped out of that immediately because I could never ever.
And Miss J, I love Miss J too. Miss J, I've loved both the J since day one. I just
and they both have their own legacies that are completely independent of Top Model, I feel. And so, you know, they've definitely earned that for themselves. In the case of Miss J, I don't know if Miss J really told us the full scoop about what has transpired between he and Tyra. Really? And that's his business if he doesn't want to share it. But I found it odd that Miss J would be lacking emotion when reflecting on how a person that you've known since they were 16 years old has not come to see you since you had a stroke almost 4 years ago. I mean, I'd be so devastated. I'd be so hurt by that. Like, not only did you can me from the show that we started together, but then when I am medically, like, incapacitated, you couldn't even stop by? What? Like, in 4 years? That just seems a little odd to me. And I feel like Miss J has more emotion about that than what they were saying in the documentary, but they probably wanted to leave it out of that the same way that Tyra didn't want to talk about Mr. J.
Ooh, she said, nah.
She really did. She said, I'm not talking about that. Yeah. So, I mean, and again, I can respect that there are aspects of these personal relationships that these people want to keep away from cameras. But isn't that ironic, though, that like, we're reflecting on a reality TV show where these girls were exploited, and now you're talking about keeping stuff off the camera?
Yeah, and you know, one thing that for the Jays, I was so happy for them to see that they were able to get all of these really cool, amazing jobs and opportunities coming off of Top Model. I wish it had been the same for those contestants. You know, it was a very different experience for them. So when you're the, you know, production, the makeup artist, the coaches on the show, you know, obviously society looked at that very differently than they did the contestants at that time. And so again, I mean, they also, I know Mr. and Mrs. J had made a name for themselves before. That's why they got the jobs on Top Model. So that is something to take in consideration too. I'm definitely not discrediting that. But it was just an interesting thing to look at of, you know, even with them getting fired off that show, it ended up still opening a bunch of doors for them, even when, and you know, even after the nasty smear campaign of, oh, they were fired. They were, you know, they made it this big, huge thing. And so good for them, because I feel like the Jays do deserve it. Yes. It was something that I just thought of, though, of, oh man, I feel for those contestants though, because I'm sure some of them who were really struggling to find jobs and get in the industry afterward, maybe saw that and thought, dang, I wish that something had come, I wish it had been easier for me coming off the show.
At that part of the convo, I would like to shift over to Mr. Ken Mock. Mm-hmm.
Ken Mock.
Oh, Mr. Ken Mock. So I learned in watching the documentary that Ken Mock also created Making the Band.
Yep.
And you've seen my Making the Band video, and one really big aspect of why the Making the Band story is so sad is because those girls had real dreams. They really thought that they had a shot at a career. They really thought that their futures were being unlocked by these shows and all of the ridiculous things that they were asked to do while on them. And yet that's another instance where, unfortunately, the stories and the drama were all that those people were interested in. That was all that Puffy wanted, was the stories and the drama, because he knew that the entertainment dollars from a show would be way more than what he would get off of royalties from their record sales.
It's just so terrible. I mean, like, playing in these girls' faces with their lives.
Yes. And see, there's a part of me that also like feels very sensitive to that, because I lived in that world for a little while. For like a good 2 years, I would leave college down in San Diego, drive up to LA on Friday night and stay in a little cheap ass motel so that I could go-sees in the morning and be fresh, so that I could go to an audition and hopefully get my opportunity, my big break, so that I could walk in this, this open call for models and hopefully get a spot in this show. I didn't want to sacrifice my sleep. I didn't want to sacrifice weekends with my friends and time that I could have been spending with my friends. But I did that in those days because I felt like, well, this is the sacrifice that I have to make in order to get ahead. And I am already just like, I hate the investment that I put in and didn't get the return that I was looking for just from that. So can you imagine leaving your life in this tiny ass town somewhere to go to this television show where these people who are supposed to be leaders in the industry are going to instruct you and help you get on and, position you so that you can be a top model? Like, those girls were risking it all. And all it really was a television show.
Yeah, to exploit any little bit of their stories and their lives that they can, and whatever little bit they found, they ran with. And somewhere along the lines, I said this in our Kevin Frankie video where like, somewhere along the lines, that voice kicks in where it's telling you, it's your intuition, it's your gut. It's telling you, okay, this is wrong. This has gone too far. Just like Mr. J started seeing it, which is why he wanted to leave.
Yes.
Because at some point you it's wrong. And Ken Mock, I think that he drives me insane with his, oh, well, that's TV. Oh, well, they signed contracts. Oh, well, I mean, it's just, there is zero accountability. Oh, it was a product of the times. That's just the way it is. Though you got to make good TV, blah, blah, blah.
You know what? And Laurel, I would be okay with him just saying, I don't even really want that much from Ken Mock or Tyra. I would be okay if they could at least just come out and say, hello, these are the years that the show ran, and we perfected how to make a successful TV show in that era. Now, is that good for humans? Is that good for humanity and for people's emotional well-being and their physical well-being? No, we see that now. Like, I would really be okay with them just saying that. Tyra said, you guys were begging us for more. And I'm thinking, lady, I didn't ask you for nothing. You put this shit in my face. Don't try to come at me and say that I wanted this shit. I didn't tell you to go up there and tell that girl she was ashy. Hell no.
I 100% agree, though, because as far as you can't go back and change it. And that's why I said, like, look, as far as the whole, it was a product of the times, there is some truth to that, you know. There's also so many things that are wrong in our history that were a product of the times. I mean,
like lynchings.
I was just going to say, like, slavery, segregation, you know, being able to own your wife. I mean, there's a lot of things that were legal.
They used to bound women's feet in China. We ain't doing that no more either.
That's the product of the times, y'all. I mean, come on. I'm fine with that. But just like you said, you also have to add in there, we've also learned from this. We're able to look back at this and see where we went wrong. And yeah, I can admit that maybe deep down I did know some of this wasn't okay. And now I know that I'm allowed to use that voice. Now I know I'm allowed to, when I feel that in my gut, when I hear that in my head, telling me it's wrong, I don't need to keep going for the money. I don't need to keep going because there's someone in power above me that I'm afraid of. Nah, say it with your whole chest. It's wrong. You're hurting people.
And
And that's what Tyra never gave us. And that Tyra left us on, come back for season 25.
right there. And see, that to me, that's enough for me to go, okay, you're clearly not sorry. Because what are you doing? You're coming out with a new one. Like, no. And see, she's smart too, because she knows all you haters, you're going to tune in for that first episode. Oh, I know you are. You want to see what the hell I'm doing. You're going to show up for that. And she's right, because I do want to see, like, girl, have you really changed? Have you really changed? Have you really changed, Tyra? I don't think you have. I don't think she's really changed. There will be some things that we don't see on television because they know better now. But, and who would sign up for this? Like, who's going to sign up for cycle 25 of America's Next Top Model after everything?
I'm really curious. I mean, but you know some will. You know,
yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. They will. As a matter of fact, I think that Tyra so she's got like an ice cream that it's not doing well over in Australia. She left that here in the States so that she could move to Australia because I think it was just easier for her to start up what she wanted to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these contestants for cycle 25 come from Australia.
Interesting.
Fresh meat, fresh land. You know, she's going down there to plant her flag and say, okay, I'm going to turn this into top model land. And, you know, meanwhile, she's just burning through the young women at record speed.
Well, one more before I know we got to wrap this up, but we cannot do that without mentioning Janice.
Oh, yes. Oh my God. That. Yeah, so, I have disliked Janice Dickinson pretty much from the beginning. I have never seen anything redeeming about this woman. They say that she was the first supermodel. You know what my yardstick for measuring is when it comes to supermodels? If you were not in a George Michael video during the 90s, you ain't no damn supermodel to me. I don't know about
Okay. I will say, I do remember watching the show when I first started, even way back. I mean, yeah, I was in 9th grade and I really didn't know much about modeling, but I just remember being like, when they made that big deal out of her being the first supermodel, I was like, I don't know who she is. Where is she?
I have no clue whatsoever who she is. I don't know what she's done. And honestly, looking at her, I don't really see her as being exceptionally beautiful. I see her as very average.
I absolutely held some pretty crap views about, you know, I just ate the editing right up and said, oh yeah, they're right. Oh, you know, she's whatever they're saying she is. I'm like, oh yeah, she is. Janice was never one. I will say with Janice, it was always too far to me. It was always just like her, you know, they made it this, it's that harsh industry voice it's real in the industry. but she was vile. I mean, mean as hell.
And I feel like that's all she ever did. I never saw her make any constructive criticisms. Like none of, and I didn't watch the show, but none of the clips I've ever seen of Janice Dickinson was she ever saying, honey, you got to hold your shoulder like this and then walk this. I never see her doing any of that. I just see her yelling, you're fat, you're ugly, she's chopped, just all these things. And I'm just like, God damn. Like she really did just show up to be mean. And like, I don't know. It's clear she needs to do some healing. That's my personal thought.
Yeah. And they can, production can say, oh, well, that's the character she was hired to play, blah, blah, blah. Again, it was the times, whatever, but like that was a whole other level of vile. That was not just like, oh, you're, I mean, there were like, even with Tyra talking about Tiffany's gap, which I always loved her gap, but Tyra, she would kind of say, like, I remember her doing the thing, like, oh, are you going to walk up in like this, kind of thing. And that was uncool. It was not nice. But it was nothing compared to, I mean, the one contestant, Giselle, who says, oh, those words stick with me. I still to this day say, like, your ass is so fat, your ass is so... A lot of that
wide. They used the word wide. They said wide about her ass.
Yes, that's right. Yep. And a lot of those women will have Janice's words in their heads forever. Because let's be real, words cut, man.
They do.
And so she was just, I just couldn't let this one go by without, well, just saying, fuck Janice Dickinson, honestly.
Yeah, fuck Janice Dickinson. All right. I agree with you, my friend. Oh my goodness. Well, listen, I really have enjoyed this conversation, getting to unpack this documentary, the show, hearing your insights. I really appreciate it.
I always appreciate conversations with you, and this was a really fun one. I enjoyed it a lot.
I agree. Until next time, my friend.
Until the next one.